All right, so I want to talk a little bit about this Air Force One that President Trump unveiled that not a lot of Anons are really getting into. And I think there's a lot of significance here because we all know from the Q post that famously Post 35 says POTUS will be well insulated / protected on AF1, Air Force One, and abroad, specific locations classified while these operations are conducted due to the nature of the entrenchment. And so this has been quoted time and time again, talking about some operation that's going to happen in the near future. Now, this operation, whatever it may entail, might be a roundup of all the different deep state criminals and all this stuff, or some other continuity of government type of stuff while something is happening. Or it could have been just over a long course of time, meaning that it's not just one event on one day. But the point is that this is very expected and some kind of military action will happen as things go down. Now, this is just a day ago where he put together this montage in the midst of a big speech that he did, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But very obviously, this is the unveiling of the Qatari version of this jet. And so if you remember, there were, I think, 2 jets that were to be delivered, but there were problems. They were in process of trying to deliver, but there were some issues with that. And so the Qataris gifted this, and then they quickly did like a 10-month overhaul, and they allowed it such that this particular fleet, one of them among other Air Force Ones that will be delivered, is ready to go. And it's going to replace, it's already replaced following the G7 summit and his final flight before it was decommissioned or put in a museum, as Trump was saying before. But in his speech, he makes some very interesting notes. Although it seems like it's a commissioning of a new plane and they're just thanking people and all that stuff, I believe that there's something else happening. Listen to some parts of the end of his speech.
Now, these are great pilots. These are great, very talented people. The Air Force One team and the entire presidential airlift group is amazing, brilliant people, and they love our country. We are tremendously grateful for everything that you do each and every day, and all of the people that work here. Look at the condition of this and how beautiful everything is. It's always tippy-top. It's tippy-top, and we appreciate it. So we're going to have a big July 4th at the Capitol, flying over the Capitol. The generals promised to do a lot of this stuff, not just human. We never see them. Where are they? Tell them to come back. They were so good at the fight. It did that one, and I've never seen that many. And they were right, it looked like they were a foot away from each other, going fast.
So I just want to stop there and note that he's saying Q words, right? A lot of people talk about tippy top, and if you follow me and you guys know what that means, he's inferring and giving homage and just validation to the whole Q movement. This is back in his first term, but when he says tippy top, it's a nod to the Anon, saying that we are listening, that he's part of it. And he also just did a couple of Q symbols, pointing out and just kind of making those symbols, and those air cues are what a lot of Anons call it. And just sprinkled throughout this speech, he's talking about some military stuff. And it's very ambiguous, but also in some sense clear with regards to how he's going to handle the deep state, how he's going to handle the future while using this new jet. Now, I was very curious about this new Air Force One and some of its capabilities, and the National Geographic, actually from the first term from President Trump and even all the way through now, was able to do a special documentary on this. And so they were actually, you can watch this, about 44 minutes long, but they go out and just show you exactly this whole process. They even were able to interview President Trump throughout that time. They get to interview some of the pilots, and you get to see some of the inner workings and what they're going to have. Flares, they're going to have missile deflection defense capabilities. They're going to remodel some of the Situation Room. There's a lot of different things. And in fact, President Trump was able to select the painting and the scheme, and he selected this option too, but the Qatari one is actually here, option 1. They carved out sections of this plane.
Military makeover. And
where they have to do the stairs and they just carve out parts of this, and it's just very fascinating. I don't think they did a lot of it for the new Qatari one, but I'm not surprised if they just keep that a secret as they continue to add more to the functionality of the plane. And listen also to what Trump says.
The first time I came on to Air Force One was a big moment, frankly, in my life, because over the years it has meant so much. It's so important as a symbol a symbol of power and strength, the symbol of the presidency. It's a magnificent plane. It's something that's just very, very special. And actually got a little more plane for the dollar, not less plane. It's not like, gee whiz, we left things off. We got more plane for the money. So I was happy about that. Now, Air Force One is different than other 747s that are like private or built in a luxury manner, because we have so much military equipment and other things on, equipment that I don't even talk about.
So although they point out a lot of different things that will be equipped on the Air Force One, they also are very ambiguous about it. They don't really say much about it because there's so much secretive tech that goes in this. And one thing that I was a little concerned about is the refueling capability, because apparently they don't have that. But I think they do. They're just not saying that out loud. Part of the refueling, and by refueling I mean in-air refueling, where you can have this inconspicuous little hole that you just insert the nozzle or whatever it is to fuel in the air. Now, on some of these photos, I think you can tell that there are things on the nose, on the bridge here, where you can insert something. So I don't know, this is just speculation, but there's far more than meets the eye in what they're saying. And remember, Q gives us plenty of clues about how the Air Force One has been used for things outside of the public domain. So in this one instance, they were talking about how an unauthorized missile was fired, and this was dated June 10th, 2018. And that was literally right as he was going on Air Force One, President Trump, on his way to Singapore before he met Kim Jong-un of North Korea. Remember the famous meeting across the DMZ that happened. And during this time, there was an unreported, unauthorized missile that was fired. And Q mentions, why is there no MSM investigations? He mentions POTUS AF1, POTUS reroutes. Coincidence. So meaning that this missile was fired when President Trump was on his way from Canada to Singapore, but instead of going through, this is Skunk Bay, which is in Washington State near Seattle, instead of going that way, he went all the way around towards Greece and landed there, and then went the other way. And this was during 2018, where after the G7 summit in Canada, he went straight to Singapore, refueling here in Greece. And remember, the old Air Force One is able to have refueling capability. Q mentions here, why is AF1 landing in Hawaii? Does AF1 have in-air refueling ability? Meaning yes. And again, he's asking a leading question, knowing that the answer is yes. This is post 151 here. Now, I just think it's very interesting the timing of all this. Let's see what happens as the military, President Trump, is wrapping up and amping up this whole thing, where we're seeing D-class, where we're seeing actual legitimate operations happening as the media is brought into the fold, the public is brought into the fold. So I'm excited. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I think that there's something else happening. Obviously, they're not going to just tell everything with regards to tech, but I think we're getting ready for some big stuff. So be blessed, be encouraged. Talk to you guys very soon.